Happy September to everyone, and welcome to our live audience here at the National Czech and Slovak Museum and Library for our coffee and our Gava and Kolache session. And also, if you're on Facebook, we ask you to please like us and share it with your friends. So we have a lot of people online today because today we're going to talk about the BrewNost. And for those of you that don't know, this is our 20th annual BrewNost celebration here at the National Czech and Slovak Museum and Library. And what I like is it's called an International Beer Festival, and that's great. But we also have wine. We also have slivovice. We also have bekarovka. So we have all of these great spirits too, not only, and I think we're going to even have some whiskey, they said this year. So it's an international beer festival where you get to taste a lot of beer. But for those of you who don't care for beer, we have wine, we have slivovice, plum brandy, bekarovka, that wonderful herbal aperitif, and then I think some whiskey too. But our guest today is really, really exciting because he's been here for all 20 BrewNosts. In fact, he even was here a year before they started him, he was just telling me. And that's the star of the show always, Doug Elberhazy from John's Liquor in Iowa City.
Thank you
John, welcome. We're so glad you're here for coffee.
Yeah.
So let's get started. So tell us about you, because people don't realize it. He's Czech.
Yes. Completely. So I'm 7th generation Czech. Our family comes from Mezomosi, south of Vesely in the district Tabor. We actually visited our ancestral home back in May. My son and I did. But my great-great-great-great-grandparents came over in 1861. They got their name changed. It was Alvraske, but they changed it to Alberhaski just to Americanize it a little bit at the port of Baltimore. And they settled in Iowa City, and we've been there ever since.
I'm sure they would be so proud of what you're doing here. And how did you get involved with the National Czech and Slovak Museum and Library?
Well, so in 1999, my wife and brother and I did a little beer tour that I put together. We called it Doug and Mike's Drunken European Adventure. We thought that'd be kind of a fun name for that. And we went all over the continent. We flew into London, toured around London, took the Channel to Brussels, and toured all over Belgium. Went to Switzerland, Munich, and then ended up in the Czech Republic. And I had, through a customer of ours, we had a gentleman that's actually coming to the United States next month. His name is Yuri. He lives in Písek, and he researched our family back to 1700.
Wonderful.
And we stayed in his guest house. He was our chauffeur, our guide, everything. And I think this was back in '99, so it was a couple years ago, but he charged us $300, and we gave him a $900 tip. And that was such an amazing experience that my brother and I came up to the museum, and we did a little presentation, and we thought, you know, this is really good. We had all this Czech beer. We actually raffled off some stuff, and I forget what the gentleman's name was, but he bought a real bottle of Budweiser Budvar. And I told Gail Naughton, you know, I didn't have the heart to tell him that came back in my suitcase wrapped in my dirty underwear. But that was kind of the precursor to BrewNost. And so it took a couple more years to kind of get it all going. But yeah, that first BrewNost was 20 years ago, and we haven't looked back since.
Oh, well, that's great. And you're such a centerpiece for that big event, which this year is September 15th. And so those of you that are at home, and we'll be going through the details, and in our audience today, we always have it on the third Friday of every September. So we did this a few years ago because we were always competing with Iowa football.
Yes.
So we decided the third Friday, regardless of every month of September, the third Friday of every September is our BrewNost event. And it's a real thought. And you know, it's so important too for people to understand that the country with the largest per capita consumption of beer in the world is the Czech Republic. They drink about 88.6 gallons per year per adult. And that's a lot of beer, and that's average, so you know it's more.
Yes.
And in many of the towns there in the Czech Republic, it's less expensive than water.
Yes. Well, I always said that beer is life.
That's right.
And you know, when you look back at the history of beer, beer was the only safe thing to drink for centuries.
Absolutely. I remember on a trip many, many years ago when I went to Africa and I was in South Sudan, and the only thing that we could drink that was safe was beer.
Yes, yes.
And I decided to have orange juice one day, and I regretted it 8 pounds later. I lost the weight.
Yeah.
But okay, so Doug, tell us about what things you have planned, and we'll just work around because you have so many things planned. And I know you brought a new beer.
It's called No Imitator, and it's a Doppelbock, a Bavarian double bocked beer. Bock in German is goat, so it has a lot of kick. And the term Ator is Latin for savior. So all of the Doppelbocks named have the term Ator in the name itself. And so this is one that we brought out for our 75th anniversary. So our John's Grocery has been going. My grandparents opened up in 1948. And we're really excited because BrewNost is going to be the first time that the public is ever going to be able to try our brand new beer.
And it's called Imitator?
Imitator, yeah.
Okay, so be sure when you're here that you try it. Is it a light beer or a dark beer?
It's going to be a dark beer. It's going to be about 9.2% alcohol. It's got a lot of kick to it, but it's very smooth. You get a little bit of chocolate notes to it, very malty, very rich, and there's also a little bit of smoke on it. And that was one thing that my son and I visited Schinkerla in Bamberg, Germany, on our trip that we just did this past spring. And that was one of the most amazing experiences because everything in the brewery is actually smoked, the malt is smoked before they brew it. And some of their beers are lightly smoked, but some of the others, you open it up and you'd swear that you're standing in front of a raging bonfire.
Wow.
And you know, that's the amazing thing about BrewNost is that when you get the right beer and the right food together, it just all happens. And that's where the magic is.
And you really do bring a lot of magic. And this year we have a great entertainment. The Czech Plus Band is going to play, so we'll really get that European spirit in there. And then we have 12 food vendors. And we even have one food vendor coming from Ukraine, which is very exciting.
Wow,
they're making a special food trip to be here from Ukraine. So that's very exciting. And then we have, of course, our Kolache crew. We have many of our wonderful restaurants in town that will be here. And then we are also going to have our own individual volunteers here are going to be making us klubički, which is our wonderful Czech and Slovak sandwich that is filled with surprises. We'll just call it a klubički for now. Nice. And so September 15th, and this is our flyer that many of you received in the mail, but if you did, we've already got people coming from Ukraine, North Carolina, Florida, Washington, D.C., Georgia, Texas. So we've got a lot of people already registered, and we hope that all of you in the area will come. And one of the unique things about BrewNost is we provide you with driving to your hotel or to your home. So working with Horizons and working with Uber and Lyft, we can actually help you get home so that if you do decide to, remember, it's unlimited food and beverage. We have 4 different levels this year because many times people say, I'd rather have this level rather than this level, and it's too much. So this year we've done something new, Doug.
Yep.
I don't know if we're going to have 4 levels. So the first level is our VIP, and you can come early at 5:30. It's $150, but it's unlimited food, unlimited drink, as much as you want, and a wonderful, wonderful commemorative mug. Some people collect the mugs, and they have all 20 of them, and that's quite a thing. And then our safe ride home. But last year we did an after party at Hospoda.
Yes.
And everybody loved it. So there'll be an after party where you'll get more beer and a pizza. So that can kind of be, after you've eaten so much, you can still have beer and a pizza. And so that's our VIP level. And it's important to note that all of the money collected or made during this event goes for our education programs at the museum. And since the COVID now, we're getting thousands of young people, and we are one of very few museums in the state that do not charge for our children. So when a school bus comes in or when a homeschool comes in, we do not charge for tours. We do the same thing for high school students and also for university students. So that bill, when we look at the students that we've had in the past year, would amount to about $53,000. So we hope to make obvious through our special auctions. We have a silent auction, we have a live auction, at which you're always the
Yes.
star of, with Dr. Izakovich, who'll be there dressed in attire for the event. And so the VIP really allows us to make, because it is a costly venture to do a production like this, but we hope that all of the funds raised will support our really important grounding mission of education. Then we have another level this year called the patron level. You can also get in at 5:30, but instead of as much food as you want, everything's the same, you get $20 in food vouchers, and each of the stands has a value on their food. So in that level is only $85. So it's almost half price of the $150 for people that say, I want to drink as much as I want, but if I have, 10 different foods, I'm okay, or 5 different foods, I'm okay. And you still get the pizza and after party at Hospoda. Then there's a general admission. And this was requested by people in the community. You come an hour later at 6:30, but you can have food for purchase, so you can buy your own food that you want, but unlimited drinking. So you can taste every beer that is there and every liqueur that's there, and then again, after party at Hospoda again. And then for people that would prefer to bring a designated driver, we do have a level of that, and that's unlimited food and unlimited soda and water, and then of course the after party too. So we have 4 levels, and I encourage all of you to go online, simply go to ncsml.org/BrewNost, and that's where we'll have that at the end again. But Doug, tell us about your experience over the last 20 years. How has BrewNost changed, and what has it meant to the region?
Oh boy, it's changed so much, just in the fact that the level of beer knowledge in our community has risen so much. I remember the first couple years, it's kind of like, well, what do you got that tastes like Busch Light? I'm going, okay. So that's our ground level. But over the years, people's tastes, and especially their taste for such a wide-ranging amount of styles, and then having the food to go with it, has been an absolute game changer. And that's why I think BrewNost is probably one of the most unique beer festivals in the entire United States. And the fact that we're now showcasing not only the old world 5-star world classics, but so many of our all Iowa microbreweries that are making those same styles. So you can compare and contrast what our local brewers are doing compared to the ones that have been doing it for, a century. And that's pretty amazing.
It is, and I'm so glad that you brought that out about people's knowledge of beer.
Yes.
And I think their desire to try different beers,
Yes.
not just the same ones. I
Yes.
remember growing up, there was it Pabst Blue Ribbon and
Oh,
Hams.
yeah.
Those were favorites of my dad's.
Yeah.
And
there were like, you had 6 choices. Now, I've got over 5,000 beers at John's Grocery.
Oh my goodness,
Yeah.
5,000 beers.
Yeah.
And we're so grateful that you're a part of our NCSML family.
Yes.
And we have a wonderful, wonderful live auction. And in our live auction, John and Dr. Martin Izakovich, one of our board members, often and Doug from radio,
Yeah.
Doug Wagner, the 3 of them really provide a great show during our live auction.
Yes.
And we've got we've got a week-long trip to Cabo. We've got a week-long trip to Slovakia. We've got a week-long to Bratislava. And we've got some really incredible, a trip to Bohemia, southern Bohemia, the Czech Republic. And then, of course, if you can't make it, we encourage you to buy lots of raffle tickets that you can buy online, because as always, we provide you with a trip with flight tickets and a trip to the Czech Republic. And we have a wonderful partner there with the Rod Hotel. You've stayed there.
Yes.
Tell them about the Rod Hotel.
Oh, it was absolutely gorgeous. Our trip that we did in May, my son and I, actually, I bought the Bohemian tour last year at the auction, and so we stayed a couple nights at your friend's place, and then went up to Prague, and it was just gorgeous. I mean, that was probably one of the nicest hotels I've ever been in.
And it's right in the center of town,
Yes,
the Rod
yeah.
Hotel, and they're such good partners with the museum, and you could walk to the Orloi. half a block.
Yeah.
You're a block from Charles Bridge. You're a few blocks from the National Museum in Prague, and it's a great place, and they are partners of ours. So I'm glad you were able to experience that.
Definitely.
So Doug, tell us about, you and I have been talking about that maybe we together might do a trip.
Yeah, so that was one other thing that I had wanted to do. And in 2008, my brother and I went over and kind of laid the groundwork to do a trip with the museum. But as most people remember, 2008 was not very kind with the river and the flooding, so that kind of got put on the back shelves for quite a few years. But we did this tour this past year, and we're going to do it again next year, and it's something that I'd like to keep doing year in and year out. The fact that we can get into breweries that nobody else would be able to get into, and being able to see and feel and taste the history that is in the breweries in the Czech Republic is just absolutely phenomenal. And being able to come into contact with that history, and every time I go, I learn something new. And seeing about how our heritage and where we come from as in our family in particular is breathtaking, and having that connection. And we actually spent time in the U.S. Embassy, and I found out that one of the guys that was giving us a tour is one of my long lost cousins.
I love it. Everybody's related. I think if you're Czech or Slovak, we're all related in some way. That's super. I love that.
Yeah.
So during BrewNost, we are going to have a table where people can sign up if they're interested, because our travel plans with COVID kind of got squelched here at the museum. So maybe together we will do something. So if you do come, and if you're not, then just send us a note on our information that you're interested, and then we'll start planning and maybe try to do a trip next year on beer, and I think that's so important. So as we talk about BrewNost, the evening is packed. You're going to eat, you're going to drink, you're going to visit, you're going to go on. We have a silent auction array. The team this year has done an incredible job. We have so many wonderful boat rides. We've even got golf outings, and we've got a wonderful jewelry from our homeland. And so we have our donors in the community we could not do this without the generosity of our donors in the community, because this is a huge undertaking for our staff, for our volunteers, and certainly for you. And we could not do this. And this will be special because it's the 20th anniversary, in preparation for next year, which is the 50th anniversary of the museum. So we're leading up to the gold. So this is going to be a really important time. And this year, everything's going to be outside, and we have a big tent set up so that if it does rain, hopefully there won't be any derecho type winds.
Yes.
And that we'll all be together on that. So Doug, can you highlight, you brought the new beer, can you highlight any other new things you're going to have for us this year?
Well, so in the past, one of our live auctions has always been a trip into the beer caves. Iowa City has some completely intact beer caves dating back to 1884. And one of the things that I'm most excited about right now is we're actually making a movie. We're making a movie about the beer riots in Iowa City in 1884, and we might actually try to work into this, into the beer cave tour that we'll be auctioning off, perhaps one or two special spots as extras in our full-fledged motion picture that we're going to make.
Wow. Well, that's kind of exciting.
It really is,
we'll look for it. And, the National Czech and Slovak Museum during COVID was talking about developing a live stream TV station, and that's going ahead now pretty well. So together we might be able to showcase the world.
That would be amazing.
Very good. Well, I think it's so important, as you talked about sort of the new beers you're bringing in. One new addition this year is we're going to have a pig roast. We've ordered half a pig or a portion of a pig, and so we're going to have a pig roast with one of the food tents.
Nice.
So that'll be exciting too, because beer and pork, that's a winner.
It's a wonderful thing. It's a wonderful thing, and that's why I enjoy so much the picking of what beer to go with what food item. And we've done it different ways where we do the food items first and then pick the beers, or pick the beers and then find the foods. But that's the magic thing about BrewNost, is when you can try the right beer and the right food and it all comes together, it's a heavenly thing.
It is, you know, beer and food, what better can you ask for?
Mm-hmm.
And it's so interesting because we were talking about our homelands, how people really do like beer. And I can remember as a young person when we went to Europe 30 years ago, and the apartment buildings always had a little pub in them. So if you were living in one of these big gray apartment buildings, there was a pub there, and every night when we were staying with our relatives, we would take a pitcher from the house and go to the pub, and they would fill up the beer, and it was like 50 cents.
Yeah.
You know,
It's
but
just-
it was such a way of life for them, and I would go down. I was probably 15 years old, and I'd get it. I said, "We're for my relatives." I'm okay, so they would just sell me the beer.
Yeah.
And so it's been a real important part of our culture, and we want everybody, no matter what your culture is, we all like beer, and we wine too, and the spirits, and
Yep.
a lot of people don't realize that. And so, in summary, then you'll be there. How many different kinds of beers will you have?
We're going to have a total of 21 different beer styles. And it'll be the European 5-star World Classic paired with an Iowa microbrewery of the same style. So this one will be paired with, I think it's Paulaner or Salvatore Doppelbock. And so you can try the German variety, and you can try the Iowa variety. You can try the floral pills from Reunion versus Praga pills from Česká Budějovica, the original Budvar.
Yeah.
And you can compare and contrast those, and that's what really makes this such a magic night.
And you know what else is so magic about it? We're carrying out our mission.
Yes.
Because people learn, we're lifelong learners, and to learn more about our culture, to learn more about our food, and we want everybody to be safe, so we're providing drivers, designated drivers. So really, it's a learning experience. And if you don't drink, we've got the alcohol-free. Remember the 4 levels now, the VIP, the patron level, the general admission, and the designated driver. And if you go on our website, you can see all of these, and they're readily available there for you. And we invite you to not only look at what the different levels are, but to look at our sponsors, and be sure to patronize our sponsors and thank them for being part of this ongoing 20th. That'll be a big event to celebrate the 20th. Yeah. And we look forward to all of you seeing there. Does anyone have any questions in our audience?
How many of you are thirsty?
They're all raising their hand. Okay. Any questions online? Okay. Well, we just invite you. Any last words from Doug?
You know, beer brings us together. Beer is the thing that has, you know, made people, you know, it's the Ben Franklin quote, beer is proof that God wants us to be happy. And when I think about all of the memories made and all of the good that we've done in BrewNost over the past 19 years, it's, you know, I'm humbled to be a part of it. And I thank you for all that you do to make all this happen.
Well, we're so grateful to you, and I know our team here and our valued members and volunteers and our people out there. But we want everyone to make sure that you tell your family, friends, share this with them, because this is really something that's a major part of our museum. And I like to think of it as a fundraiser and a friend raiser, because people come together that you maybe don't see all year long, and they come together, and we really can celebrate the good joy. A lot of people think that beer is a German thing. And when you say who drinks the most beer, they say Germany. But no. As we said, it's us. And the fact of the matter, too, that really the original Budvar, Budweiser, came from the Czech Republic.
Yes.
And so there are so many connections, and we hope that on September 15th, starting at 5:30 if you're a VIP or patron, or 6:30 if you want to just come on in but enjoy that unlimited beer and spirits. Again, we'll have the wine, the spirits, the Slivovitsa, the Bekarovka, and I think some whiskeys blended in there too. And we invite you all to come September 15th, rain or shine. We'll see you at the National Czech and Slovak Museum and Library. And be sure to go online to get your tickets, both your raffle tickets, because again, this trip to Prague is a week's trip in Prague with a flight ticket for 2, and get your raffle tickets, because you never know. The last few winners have been from out of state. So please join us and get your raffle tickets, and we'll see you on September 15th. And Doug, thank you as always. It's such a pleasure to work with you, and I can't wait to taste that beer.
It's good.
Okay.
It's very good.
Thank you all, and we'll see you at the BrewNost September 15th.